I got licensed in '07. I was in property management. That's kind of how I cut my teeth. And started my own brokerage in 20, I guess I created the LLC in 2012, but I didn't really start getting into it until about 2013 or 2014. Built up to kind of a decent boutique brokerage. I mean, I got obviously a pretty incredible education because I was getting into real estate as everyone was getting out, right? I was able to do a lot of like short sales and foreclosures and listed properties for asset management companies during that time. So it was a great education, even though the majority of my business was property management. I had a very small sliver of general brokerage. As I made that transition, really had goals and dreams and aspirations to build my own brokerage and brought over some amazing people, had a great family vibe. We really did some, we weren't setting the world on fire, but, won some awards for the size of brokerage. We were we were doing really well for ourselves. And then I heard about eXp in like 2017, actually, and had a sit down with Rich Tomasini and his wife and my wife and Matt Rotolo and his wife. And about 4 months later, I decided to take the plunge. And it's interesting, had I gone all in at the beginning of 2018, I have a few icon awards behind me here, and one of them is actually broken. So I decided to put it up on this shelf here as a reminder, because what I did was in 2018, instead of going all in with eXp, I decided to I didn't really go all in until probably the third quarter of 2018, because I wanted to close out all my deals with all my other agents and get 100% of that money, right? But now, if I had allowed myself to icon in 2018, which I would have had I gone all in, I would have another $200,000 or something in stock, because it was like $2 a share at that point. So, it just reminds me of risk tolerance and what it's like to sometimes not go all in, and what it can cost you, right? Opportunity cost helps remind me day to day to take those risks.
That's cool. I love that. Well, it looks like you got 4 icon awards. So you got a decent amount of stock over the years. That's pretty cool.
I'm not complaining. I'm super blessed, man. It's been an awesome ride so far, for sure.
I remember the first day we met. It was a rainy day in Charlotte. I drove down from Lake Norman, and you and your bride Ashley were hosting a lunch and learn there in Uptown. And she was checking people in. You were meeting and greeting everybody. And I remember both of you just had great energy. And I could tell very quickly that you two were people that I was excited to have in my life. So just want to recognize you guys for that. You guys are a great couple and got a great family. So keep it up, man.
The same way. We feel the same way about you guys. So
appreciate it, dude. So let's talk a little bit about where you're at today. So you joined eXp in 2017. You have a couple hundred agents in your rev share group. Are you still selling real estate?
I am. I'm actually going to be transitioning out of that soon. I'm kind of at that place where this is always tough for me, because I really do enjoy selling real estate. I enjoy serving people. I like the process of sales. I like the process of, I feel like putting other people's needs ahead of my own is sort of my ministry. It's a beautiful opportunity to be able to have this career and also be able to put food on the table. But and I'm just going to put this out there for you guys, okay? If I could go back, I would, because here's the thing, like, I know so many people that are doing really, really well on both production and attraction. Those are the 2 pillars of eXp, right? That we have that really nobody else has in the same way. And you can do both. You can do one or the other. Everybody has their own option. Attraction is something that's been important to me, and something I've wanted to do, that I've taken from sort of our family vibe and the tribe, what I'm currently calling it, in my old firm. And I'm wanting to sort of continue to scale in a new way here with eXp. And I would probably honestly give up the icon awards if I could go back and focus more on the agent attraction, because you really can't. I mean, maybe some can, but I'll just say I can't at a high level do both well, right? So for me, I love selling, but if I could go back, I probably would give up the icon awards and focused a little bit more on attraction. Excuse me.
Hindsight's 2020, but
for sure.
But I appreciate you, being real and transparent with that, because oftentimes, you hear like from people, they're like, you can just tell they're a little like, man, I wish I was farther ahead of my attraction journey. It's like, well, dude, man, you've been selling so much real estate for the last 5 years. Like, how do you
Yeah.
expect to growth at a high level? A lot of people are like, oh, it's not working for me. It's like, no, you're really just not doing the work. You're selling way too many houses. And and risk tolerance, it goes to that.
Sure.
I quit selling real estate when I was making $2,000 a month in rev share, and it was a good decision. And
Well,
and
and it
I
shows. It
yeah,
shows. I mean, everything's going to come out in the wash, right?
yeah.
And it's
How
okay. I
many
mean, if you
people?
want to focus only on sales, that's great. But if you really want to focus on building, you have to kind of burn the boats, right? I mean, you got to make that decision where you can't have your feet in two houses. We were talking about this the other day with an agent that one of my partners and I were like, they really should have more agents because they're the type of personality and they're engaged and they're creative and they're a person that you would want to partner with. And I said, I'll tell you exactly the reason. I'll tell you the reason right now, because they sold $30 million last year in real estate. It's just not going to happen. So
Yeah.
for what it's worth, I'm so grateful and thankful to be where I am. But if I would have gone back, I probably would have done what you did.
Yeah. I appreciate that. You can certainly get to 10, 15 grand a month in rev share over time.
Oh, for
A
sure. Yeah,
lot of real estate, but to get to the point where it's like 50, 100K a month, it's like,
you got to go all in.
yeah, it becomes a lot of work for a little bit of time. And then it kind of, cools down a little bit again, which is nice. So how many agents do you have right now?
211,
11. Cool. How many FLA and FLQA?
17 FLQAs, 31 FLAs.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, you're like right there in a sweet spot where it could like take off like really quick. We've all heard it. We say it over and over because it's true and it's motivating. If you can get to 50, you can get to 500. If you can get to 500, you can get to 5,000, and you're at 200. So if you really turn these burners on over the next couple of years, I mean, getting to 2,000, then 5,000
Sure.
is totally possible. Is your decision to stop selling real estate here in the near future because you're now at a place financially because of rev share you can do it, or are you just like, I'm going all in? Like, what's your mindset around that?
Yeah, it's all the above, kind of. I've got a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 7-year-old, and I just turned 50. And so I'm really looking at future. Again, for me, it's about people. It's about watching people grow and succeed. I love watching people run in their lane, but I also want to look at retirement, obviously, like anybody else. We were joking around the other day about, have you ever seen an agent retirement party, a realtor retirement party, right? They don't exist. It's called a funeral.
Yeah.
So, right. And so today, I'm looking at this and going, yeah, it's a combination of both things. I mean, I know that in order to make the progress, because my goal is 10,000, that's where I want to be eventually. And that may take me 10 years. Right. But that's my long-term sort of BHAG. And in order to do that, I've got to make some changes and do some things differently.
Yeah, I love it. If it took 10 years to get to 1,000 agents, it's a whole lot better than taking 10 years to just be selling, 50 homes a year every year until
Absolutely.
your
Absolutely.
retirement party, aka your funeral, like you said. That's funny. I never heard it quite like that. It's so true though. So, going back in time, let's talk a little bit about maybe what you think you did good with attraction to get you to where you are. And then we'll go on the other side of that coin, what you would have done differently. But let's start with like the stuff you did good initially.
Yeah. So listen, I just want you guys to know, like I'm just going to be honest on this call. Like I'm not going to be super diplomatic, right? I'm just going to kind of tell the truth and how I feel about where I was and where I've been and where I am. I think one of the things that I did well was I do care about people and I care about watching them succeed. And to a certain degree, I think that was could have been a part of my fault. So we can talk about that in a minute. But I think I think people recognize that I care when they look at me and they hear me talk to them. I think they know that I care more about them than I do about whatever they can give me, right? Like I used to preach this to my agents when I had my boutique brokerage. You have to really take care of the people. They can smell commission breath a mile away. The people are not stupid. They know if you care more about them or the check. And I always used to preach to them, make sure you chase the people. Don't chase the money. And here's the counterintuitive irony to that, right? Is if you chase the people, the money falls out of the sky, you know? And if you chase the money, the people dry up. It's just the reality. And most people, out of desperation or desire, or ambition, or whatever it is, have this needy vibe when it comes to selling and or attracting. And people recognize that. So a part of what I think was successful for me in the beginning was that people could tell that I genuinely cared about them. And that helped me attract some really, as you know, you are here because of all the people that you have attracted, and because of their talent and skill set, and because of their caring for others and wanting to build and grow and scale and offer this opportunity to change other people's lives. You're here as the leader, and people look up to you, you and John and so many others. But it's so not about you, you know. It's about your group, it's about your people, it's about your family, it's about your tribe. That's what creates something special. And I think that has always been a part of what we've brought to the table, and has been a part of what's helped us grow.
Yeah, that's so good, man. I can see that too, in the way you carry yourself and speak. I always heard, because I've wanted to be successful, from the time I was like in 8th grade, when I realized that, like, okay, other people have money and I don't. Let's fix that in the future. And I'd read all these books, and they'd always be talking about, like what you just said, don't chase the money, chase like excellence, become the person that you need to be, pour into others, serve. And when you don't have a lot, it's like, well, I just need the money right now. All that other stuff sounds good. And then attraction came along, and it played out that way. It's like, like you said, if you chase the money in attraction, like you get nowhere. But when you just show up excellent or in excellence, and you try to be your best, and you try to inspire others and care about them, like amazing things happen, and the money really does fall from the sky, which is really neat. That's awesome, man. I love to hear your heart around that. So you started off, like I mentioned, that I met you at a lunch and learn you were doing. Did that play a key role in your success initially, or do you feel like it wasn't maybe worth the squeeze?
No, absolutely. We did lunch and learns really up until COVID. We were doing them really weekly at one point, and then it turned to bi-weekly, or bi-monthly rather. And so, yeah, and we were, I was up there with the marker, right? And I would bring in other people and guests and everything else. And for sure, I think it was a big part of our growth in the beginning. It's funny. John was talking about GoPro, which I'm listening to on Audible again. And, Eric talks about that our job is to educate, and our job is education and understanding, right? And so that's what those presentations do, right? Is they educate. And then when we get to speak to these individuals, our job is not to sell them. Our job is to understand and relate to them, and be able to be empathetic, and being able to mirror those, marry those two together is where you find success.
Yeah, that's good. Download GoPro today. We actually have a free copy of that in the file section in Game Changers Nation. If there's anyone out there that hasn't yet read it, I would print that, put it in a 3-ring binder, and use it like a workbook, because that's gold, and it's great on Audible too. So the lunch and learns, they were kind of, sounds like, essential for your initial success. Have you thought about going back to them, or what are your thoughts around them today?
Yes, and let me say, I saw a question from Joni. I don't know if anybody's answered her, but it's called GoPro. It's by Eric Worre, Worre. It's a great book. I actually have the paperback, but I was also listening to it on Audible, and it's like, it's the Bible for this stuff, really. There's a couple really good books. Building an Empire is really good as well. But so going back to them, yes, we have thought about this a lot. You're welcome. I've thought about this a lot, and just feel like it's kind of time just to ramp them up again. We haven't really calibrated everything on this yet, but we have definitely been talking about it. I think, here's the thing is for me, I feel like there's value in meeting again in person. We've really enjoyed the Zoom meetings, because we can get 200 people on a Zoom meeting to pitch the model and talk about its values and intricacies. But it's tough to do that at a restaurant. And you can obviously, reach more people other than just hyper locally too. But yes, we are definitely back to talking about that page again.
Awesome. Yeah, I think more than ever, they're probably, even more important. I think, especially in areas like Charlotte, where we did a lot of them and there's a lot of eXp agents, they kind of feel like maybe they're a little bit played out, but it's like, I think as it gets more competitive to attract agents to the company, just by sheer number of agents at our company now, getting agents together, masterminding, doing fun events. It's like, I heard one time something I read. It's like, if you can get other agents to experience what it will be like with us at eXp before they join us, that's how you get them to join us, by adding value just through
Mhm.
information, training. Or agents switch companies all the time just because they think they'll have more fun at a different brokerage. And I personally think that's a great reason to switch brokerages. It's like, there's the few in the Charlotte area. I remember when I was interviewing brokerages and I'd walk in and it's like everyone in there they're like already dead. There's like no energy to the office. It's like, I'm not joining that brokerage. And then you get around other people and they're having fun. So I think events are great for that. One of my guys, William in Massachusetts, he just did an event, Lunch and Learn today. He had 45 people there. His
Nice. That's awesome.
social media training with eXp Explained, and I got 3-week call for this
Sure.
with one of the gals that was there with him. So that's cool that you guys are looking at going back to that. I was kind of curious. So
And that does seem to be the new, that does seem to be kind of the new approach, right? Is not just a straight EXP pitch, but let's bring some value to the agents. Let's teach them something and then kind of tack that on as a part of it. Because prior to COVID, we weren't utilizing that type of approach.
yeah, I think the straight like, hey, come here about eXp still works for sure. It's easier to do. So you can do it weekly. You probably have a hard time adding like a lot of training on a weekly basis. That'd probably become all encompassing. So there's pros and cons to both for sure. In the Charlotte market, I think definitely adding some value at the Lunch and Learns would help. Going back 2017, you already said that you wish you would have went all in on it and not had so many icon trophies behind you. Like other than just time commitment and maybe energy commitment and focus, like what would have you done different? Like tactfully, if that's a word, tactily.
Yeah, so here's where it's probably going to sting a little bit, right? This is where I'm going to kind of get real and just speak the truth of where I'm at. This is where I struggle a bit with this concept because I am, I had a heart for new agents. I had a heart for, helping agents. I went through a period where I clearly wanted it more for some than they wanted it for themselves. Man, AJ, I swear I went Tony Robbins on so many agents so many times and just blood, sweat, and tears. And I just really wanted to see him succeed. And unfortunately, what I've learned over the past few years is that's a really difficult. So here's what I'm telling people now. If you have a heart for new agents, don't do agent attraction. Go open a school. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not going to really work because what I should have done or what I wish I would have done differently is go after icon agents, broker owners, and team leads. That's really what I would have done in differently.
Yeah, that's gold. It's so true, man. I like, how you described it. I probably, the way I teach that lesson is a little more harsh. You're like, if your heart's new agents, open up a real estate school. I'm like, bringing new agents on at eXp. It's like, this is the way I say it. So maybe there's some harsh people like me and then some nice people, Marcus. So I was like, would you list a $30,000, mobile home and get paid, 6% commission on $30,000? Like most people would not do that. They're like, well, no, my average price point is $400,000. Well, then why are you prospecting for $30,000 mobile homes? That's like new agents. Like that would be like the value they add to your agent attraction business, just like a $30,000 mobile home would. That's the value it would add to your real estate business. Not wrong or right. New agents are great. We're all new agents, and I'm thankful for the people that helped me when I was new. But it's like, if your goal is to make money from agent attraction and significant money, new agents they take more time because they're new. And what's the stat? It's like 90% of all new agents fail in the first 3 years. So you got to recruit 10 agents to even have one that's still in the industry 3 years from now. And they also got to still be with eXp. Agents switch brokerages all the time. So that one agent that made it still might not even be with eXp 3 years from now. So that is great advice. And I'm glad you said that. That's probably something that we don't talk about enough. And you said this is the truthful part.
Yeah, learn from me. I mean, guys, don't make the same mistakes. I've navigated the minefield, and don't step where I step so you don't blow your legs off, in the process. Because honestly, the truth is, had I backed off on sales and had I really focused on higher level agents, which really this model is so much more impactful for anyway, right? I mean, this is not a model. I don't care what anybody says. This is not a model for part-time agents. If you're selling 5 houses a year and that's all you want to do, go to 100% brokerage. This is just doesn't, it's compensation for contribution, right? The more that you bring to the table, the higher selling agent you are or want to be, the more you're going to get back from this company, man. That's the beauty of it, right? So I'd have another 0 behind my numbers right now had I done all that. And I'm not crying over spilt milk. I'm just saying, if this is something you want to focus on, I love where I'm at. I am where I'm at because this is where I'm supposed to be. And I've learned the lessons I needed to learn. I'm thankful and grateful to be here. But if this is something you really want to focus on, back off of the sales and try to help agents that really have ambition to plug into this model, because it'll change their lives.
Yeah, that's so good, man. Matt Greco said it's actually easier to attract established agents because the value proposition is stronger and they've already lived through the pain points of the industry. Like I agree with that so much.
Well said.
I get on a lot of calls with newer agents because that's kind of the problem I'm trying to solve is a little bit different. Once you have a big organization, you're trying to get FLAs so that you keep levels open. And my YouTube channel generates a lot of new agent leads. So I still talk to a decent amount of new agents. And every time they're just like, they just don't see eXp. They're like, how can you help train me? And that's fine too, because we have great training. But it's like, they just don't get it. And then you talk to an agent who's been in the industry for a while. They're getting burned out. They're like, wow, how has nobody ever told me about this? Or how come nobody's ever explained eXp like this to me? They see it as a retirement plan, like you're talking about, Marcus. Brian says, how do you, I'll be curious how you answer this, Marcus. He said he's in that painful lane now of attracting newer agents. If you're not the team leader or broker owner, or if you're not a team leader or broker owner, the challenge is, how do you attract those bigger fish? So what advice would you give to maybe a newer agent looking to attract those bigger fish? And two, Brian, just to be clear, a capping agent with our company is someone that sells like 6 to 8 homes a year. And I think capping agents are great to go after. So they don't need to be like this massive fish. It can just be a base hit, and a base hit's a capping agent. So Marcus, what would you say to that question?
Yeah, so I appreciate you clarifying that, AJ. And I think it's important to remember that the capping agents, they also can turn into larger agents if that's their goal, as well as relationships they have can help them develop and grow. Because that capping agent may not be an icon agent, but they may have a really good relationship with a broker owner that they've known 20 years. So there's always some of that too that you kind of have to think about and apply. Even with new agents, one of them may be a superstar, but having to work through all that, it's just, sometimes it can be counterproductive. So I think, calling, if you can cold call an agent, I think some people do it, some people don't. I've done it. If you can get them to take a look, if you can shock them into being able to take a look at the model, kind of what some of the stuff John said earlier, it's getting them to be willing to take a look, because most of them will strong arm it. And here's what I've found about the cold calls is that a lot of these agents that are team leads and broker owners, I was one, right? So I can speak to the pain points of a broker owner. Is many times they are in severe pain, but they will not tell you about it. And they certainly will not show you, because they have to put on the facade that they have it all together and they're the top dog. And so if you can get them to peel back some of the layers of that onion and question them down in a friendly conversational way, so that you're uncovering some of the pain points, and then circle back around to those and you're not, obviously you're not, the goal with a cold call, if you're doing that, is not to sell someone on the first call. It's not, we're dating, right? This is, one night stands are not what we're what we're trying to go after. And back to GoPro again with Eric Worre, he said exposures, that you're trying to get them from exposure to exposure, and you're trying to pique the interest the way that John says a lot. So I do that a lot through a myriad of different ways, and I think social media has also been for me really effective. The social media, I've really kind of doubled down on a lot of that in the videos, and posting. When we had a big agent come over in Charlotte just recently, his name is Mark McClaskey, and he's one of those $30 million single producing agents and has a team, top 1% team lead, and just a really nice guy. And we did, I like to do videos where I'm introducing this guy and talking about why he came over to eXp. And we've already got multiple people that have come on just because of that video. So, and that's kind of, in a way, it's kind of I guess it's not a cold call, but it's certainly not a warm call. It's people that are literally being attracted based on the content that we're putting out. So I think there's a variety of ways, and I'll be honest with you, it's not one thing that works, but everything that does. It's just whatever you will do consistently. It doesn't really matter what it is. Maybe it's cold calling. Maybe it's, at some point you're going to run into a problem with your sphere, and you're going to dry that sphere up, and you're not going to have any warm contacts anymore. So you kind of, if you're going to grow, you kind of have to start sort of cold attracting, and whatever method works for you that you will do consistently is the right one.
Yeah, that's solid advice. What works is what you do on a consistent basis. And it's with the idea too, it's like base hit after base hit, because as Marcus said, they might know somebody else that's a player. If I look at my whole organization, some of my biggest players in my group are not people that I recruited. I was on the plane a couple of days ago coming back from Jackson Hole, and I was just deleting old notes. I was like, I got to get rid of some of these old notes, and on your iPhone, just getting rid of stuff because I don't have internet. So I'm just deleting old notes. And I was going through some from 2016 and 2017 of my thoughts around eXp, strategies I was going to implement. Some were good ideas, some were bad. But what I found was my original list of people I wanted to reach out to. And that's really where you start. I had only been in real estate for 4 years. I had just started a team. It was a okay team. We were doing all right. But I just started with the people I knew, people at my office, agents that I had done deals with. And that's where you start. And then you go into cold market. So just get into the mindset of, how can I hit a base hit every month? A base hit is a capping agent. If you can recruit a capping agent per month for the next 3 years, you're going to be in a very good position 3 years from now. That's just a fact. So, all right, Marcus, what is one last piece of advice that you'd want to share with everybody? Something to inspire them, something tactical that you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it all comes back to kind of, divorcing marrying the process and divorcing the result. I think that's kind of the big takeaway for me. And if I could leave you guys with anything, I think that's the most important thing, is that if you can switch gears with agent attraction and try not to make it about, well, obviously there's a time you need to close them, but try not to make it about, forcing something. Try to make it about a smooth process where your job, like Eric says, again, back to the book, is education and understanding, and divorce the result. Like just emotionally divorce yourself from whether or not they're coming over, and make your job a consultant. Make sure that going in, and that you eat, sleep, and breathe. You're a consultant trying to help other agents, realize this opportunity, and it's up to them whether or not they come over. And I'm telling you, that in and of itself will change things for the way that your attraction business goes.
100%. Great advice. So 10 years from now, we'll be on another call, hopefully, where you're sitting at 10,000 agents. I know you can do it, man. That's exciting.
I'll be 12,000 in 10 years.
12,000. You're gonna be 60. Your kids are gonna be head off to college or in college. You're gonna have to traveling the world, living it up.
That's the goal. Who knows where we're going to be in 5 years, but 10 years is kind of the goal. And so, yeah, we're excited.
That's awesome, brother. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Appreciate you having me.
All right, later.
Thanks, guys.